Good afternoon. Hi, welcome to CMC. I'm Mindy Wright, member of the CMC Board of Trustees, and I'm Senior Outreach Coordinator at Ohio State. It's good to see everybody here today. Today, the Columbus Metropolitan Club is pleased to present Big Visions for the Columbus Convention Center area, sponsored by Dispatch Media Group, Mills James, and Schooley Caldwell. Each of our sponsors is represented here today by many of their friends and associates, so let's thank them. Convention centers and the urban spaces around them represent opportunities. These areas serve as the gateway to the community for thousands of visitors to a region, as well as for citizens who visit the convention center for any number of other reasons. Given that these spaces are the pulse of a vibrant community, are we not best served to optimize their potential? Let's explore the possibilities today. So please join me in welcoming President and CEO of Columbus Downtown Development Corporation in Capital South, Guy Worley, President and CEO of Experience Columbus, Brian Ross, owner, Regionomics, Bill Lafayette, Executive Director of the Short North Alliance, Betsy Pandora, and our host, journalist at the Columbus Dispatch, Marla Rose. Brian and Guy will start us off with an overview of a recent convention center study, and then Marla Rose will lead the discussion. So Brian, the podium's yours.
Thank you. All right, so who's as excited as I am for not getting sauce on them during lunch? Raise your hands, all right. So anyhow, I'm excited to be here this afternoon. Wanted to really share a vision, a collective vision that a lot of us here in the community have worked hard on as we continue to work hard to attract more conventions and visitors to our community, as well as providing wonderful opportunities to the residents that are here. Since 2012, Experience Columbus has worked collaboratively with a lot of our community stakeholders on a strategic plan to increase the tourism economy, and it's working. Our latest numbers, which I think came in about 3 weeks ago, a month ago, in 2016, we had 40 million visitors to the Central Ohio in Columbus. 40 million visitors. In addition to that, they spend about $6.4 billion annually and also support 75,000 jobs. So the tourism economy is vital to Central Ohio. And a big part of keeping that momentum is destination development. And with that, Experience Columbus actually created a strategic development committee that would address that. So one of the things we have to do is continue to remain competitive. It's a very competitive landscape. And to do that, we have to continue to develop and have projects that attract new business and keep the existing business we have and allow them to grow. And with that, a perfect example of that is the convention center renovation that is happening, is about ready to finish with a renovation and expansion of the Greater Columbus Convention Center. And it's a perfect example because we were able to solidify and book a very high-profile event called the American Society of Association Executives in 2019, which is the Super Bowl of meetings. And you actually have a handout, a one-pager that'll talk a little bit about that. We also have another prestigious event that's coming in March of 2018 that the Greater Columbus Sports Commission worked very hard on and booked, and that's the Women's Final Four for Division I basketball. So again, a couple of high-profile events that Destination Development helped secure here. So our Strategic Development Committee and a local planning and design firm of NBBJ studied the area west of the convention center, really from High Street over to Neal. And I think most of us would agree that there's tremendous potential in that area to add distinct, unique offerings that would complement and enhance the already wonderful districts we have in the Short North Arts District, the Arena District, and obviously the wonderful development that's going on with the North Market. So all of that would be within walking distance, which is very important to our conventioneers as they come in. So today we just want to spur conversation and talk a little bit about this, but I do want to give a shout out to the individuals that were a part of this process. So Steve Shoney with the City of Columbus, I don't think Steve's here. Jim Schimmer with Franklin County. I don't see Jim, okay. I did see Mr. Don Brown with the Convention Facilities Authority. Brian Ellis with NRI, and Linda Logan with the Sports Commission. And Guy Worley, who will be walking us through a slideshow with the Downtown Development Corporation. And I do want to give a special shout out to Guy because I did ask him to lead this, and I was very much hoping he wouldn't say no. Obviously, with all the experience he has and knowledge, and we were very excited to have him take us through that. So with that, I'll have Guy get us going. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Brian. It's very good to be here with you today. A couple of shout-outs. We need to congratulate Don Brown because under his leadership, we're going to be able to expand our convention center, and it'll be finished this summer. And that is going to be one of the key amenities that enables us to compete nationally. So that'll be done very soon. And then I think we all need to chip in and buy the Ohio State University hat for Adam. I love your hat, but you're in Columbus, and OHIO. You're a grad too? Then you've got the wrong hat on.
Yeah, lost a bet.
So, congratulations, Adam. That being said, what I'm going to share with you today is basically we put together a team, the city, the county, CDDC, Experience Columbus, the Sports Commission, the Convention Facilities Authority, and basically we hired some world-class designers and urban planners in NBBJ, Dan Ayers and AJ Montero and Kim Way, to basically put together a urban design framework that would guide the public and private investment in and around the convention center over the next 5 to 10 years. And so what I'm going to do today is kind of give you an overview of that. And that was part one of what we were interested in accomplishing. The second part was to basically, one of the things that we've learned at Experience Columbus is in order for us to compete and go to the next level, we need to consider building a 1,000-room hotel. And if we were to do that, where would we place it? So we actually studied where that would be as well. And so I'm going to share with you some options for that. So first off, to kind of give you an idea of what area was studied, basically the I-670 to the north, Neal Avenue to the west, Nationwide Boulevard to the south, and 4th Street to the east was the area that we studied. A lot of great amenities already, but as you can see, looking at this, you see a lot of empty space, parking lots to the west of the convention center. And so from a placemaking perspective, we wanted to determine what could go there that would complement and enhance the experience that our conventioneers and tourists are taking advantage of when they come to experience all that Columbus has to offer. What could we do going west? So we came up with basically 5, and this is a summary, but we came up with 5 experiences, placemaking opportunities. And the first one was to bolster the Park Street experience. And the strategy was basically make the pedestrian experience of Park Street a priority by preserving its positive attributes like scale, walkability, and active storefronts while simultaneously enhancing it with art and street furnishings. So it might look something like this. The second strategy was to make Spruce Street a destination. Consider making a large portion of Spruce Street between Park and High Street pedestrian only. And it might look like this. So you can imagine this being a pedestrian thoroughfare, place to gather. A third alternative was to create a there. And the strategy was to create a definable place that serves as a central point within the district. The district needs a central gathering space to enhance its ability to serve as a destination. And you could imagine something that might look like this. The fourth strategy was connect the experience to the west. You could create a unique interblock pedestrian experience that helps to draw activity from Park Street to the western parcels of the district. This will encourage a stronger connection to Express Live in Huntington Park. And that might look something like this. And lastly, enhance the gateway at Goodale and Park. Strategy could be to enhance the sense of place both visually and physically at the intersection of Goodale and Park Streets. This intersection serves as a hinge point between Park Street and the short north. So those were kind of a summary, and this is what it could look like. And so this is a summary of 5 placemaking strategies that we worked on, among many things, but these are the 5 key ones. The second objective of this study was to determine if we were able to build a 1,000-room hotel, what would the best place to be in order to have it succeed and be connected to the convention center. So we came up with 3 different sites along High Street that basically would connect the convention center south into downtown. The first would be the expansion of the Hyatt Regency. It's already got 633 rooms. We could simply add on another wing of about 380 rooms to get our 1,000-room hotel. Another alternative would be to look at the Crowne Plaza. And it currently has 375 rooms. If we add it, we could only add about 276 rooms to this site. It's not big enough for a 1,000-room hotel. And that would add up to about 650 rooms, but that wouldn't meet our objective. And the third alternative would be to expand the Hilton or make it a standalone entity. And currently, they've got 532 rooms. We could add across the street at the convention center site about another 476 rooms, which would get us to 1,000 rooms, which is our goal. So that is an overview of the study that was undertaken, and we'll be glad to answer questions later.
Hi, I'm Marla Rose. Thank you, Guy and Brian. Hope I didn't just do something there. One thing that I thought would be useful is to define what this vision plan is. I was describing it as a district, but I was informed that it's not really a district. So, Brian or Guy, I don't know how would you in, common parlance define, how would you describe what this is to help define for people? You're showing these beautiful pictures, but there's a lot of steps that have to happen. So, if it's not a district, how would you define what it is?
I think it would best be defined as an area, again, that we looked at. I don't think that it needs to be defined as far as prescriptive what we need, like 4 restaurants, hotel, things of that sort. I think it's more of understanding how a visitor's experience from a pedestrian and residential experience from a pedestrian standpoint would work. And then obviously whoever chooses to develop it and the architects and places, people like that, what they put there, I think will help define it itself. And hopefully organically it's done, which we know those are usually the best way things are take foot and maintain their distinctiveness.
So, guys, certainly this isn't like things the CDDC has done. It's not like you have control of this area and, you have a sort of blank slate here. This is a lot of moving parts, and I guess the next question is, how does this then move toward reality? What are the next steps to getting to some of this vision in terms of working with private developers or the public sector, as it makes sense?
Sure. Well, first of all, I'd like to say downtown is really hot. We've got so much momentum happening in our downtown, and one of the reasons is due to the public-private sectors working so closely together. So we have touched base with the private owners, or the owners of the privately held land, and they're very supportive of this effort. And so a lot of this is going to be market-driven. In order to build a 1,000-room hotel, it's going to probably take a public-private partnership. And our city's already shown that that's been very successful in the past in building the Hilton, where the county and the city and the CFA came together and worked to build that magnificent project, and it's doing so well. So if we want to go to the next level, the studies indicate we need a 1,000-room hotel. So we've identified 2 places where that might be possible. The lands west are mostly controlled by the private sector, and in reaching out to them, they seem really excited about adding to the vibrancy that is occurring already in the short north and in downtown and in the Arena District. And so I think we can this will be very additive, and I think the market will demand that we build out those parking lots basically to the west of the convention center.
On a parallel track, of course, in addition to the convention center, which is the focus of the study, we have the redevelopment of the North Market starting to take shape. And Bill, I know you have some interesting data about the North Market as a driver for that area, what it contributes, and maybe maybe you could speak to a little bit how that ties into this vision too.
Well, the North Market is unique in our region, and I'm very much in favor of elevating it, expanding it, making it even more than it is now. Part of the advantage is that the North Market community is sort of an informal business incubator where there's a community of merchants who perhaps trade ideas back and forth, help one another's business. I did an impact study on the North Market a year ago. Essentially, the impact of the North Market comes from blocking spending, keeping it in the community where it would otherwise leak out of our economy. Because dollars leaking out of our economy have no impact, and dollars that we prevent from leaking out of our economy have the same impact as bringing dollars in. Those of you who've been here for my annual song and dance before know that the typical chain retailer retains 14 cents of spending, sales, per dollar for at least one round in the community. Typical locally owned retailer retains 48 cents. According to my study, North Market retailers retain 79 cents out of every dollar that's spent there for at least one additional round of supplier impact. That's undoubtedly because those merchants have a commitment to sourcing locally. It's not just a default for them. That increases regional earnings $5.8 million per year. It increases sales tax and income tax throughout the region, including a $119,000 annual pop for Columbus income tax.
And in the renovation, which we'll see very soon, of the convention center that's almost done, certainly the whole idea is to open it up more to the street and have an entrance that, leads, and I know part of this plan is visually to lead more down toward the North Market and tie that all in. I mean, Betsy, it seems like Short North is so much a part of the visitor experience, as well as a great benefit, an amenity to people that live here. How, from a high level, what does this vision mean for the Short North, and how that could, the two could further enhance each other in terms of visitor experience and the Short North as a entity?
Sure. First, I want to thank Brian and Guy and everyone for their incredible leadership on thinking big. I think that Columbus is about collaboration and about big thinking, and I think that this is an extension of great things that are already happening in our community. If you take a look at the Short North, what is great about this level of big thinking is that the Short North as a place evolved incredibly organically and through an intentional series of intense community collaborations. And I think as we think about this particular geography, I really appreciate Brian framing it to say that it isn't just about a new district or a convention district or a new place, but instead it's about enhancing and connecting and leveraging the incredible growth that we are going to see in this region. And we have this awesome opportunity right now to play a role in co-creating the core city of our future. And I think that this is the big level of thinking that we need to continue to certainly demonstrate the economic case, but continue the built environment case for why we need to be thinking about creative placemaking, creative engagements within the built environment, and doing exactly what we're doing on High Street in the Short North, which is a $25 million streetscape improvements project that will be complemented by a $500,000 public art plan and public art investment effort. It's about connecting people and bonding people to our great community. So I'm thrilled to see the leadership behind the next step in that, and thinking about tying that from visitor to community member to all of the special things that make Columbus so great.
And it's interesting because one of the things that is a concern among the community and business community in the Short North is keeping a real local, unique flavor. There's been some concern that perhaps it's going to go all chain stores, rents go up and it becomes more homogenous. But it seems to play into the what visitors want, that they want a unique experience when they go someplace. They want to be able to go home, and it enhances the destination overall if they go home or tell their friends, wow, I went to this place and there was this thing that I have never experienced before, this great restaurant that's local. So, Brian, maybe you could speak to how that plays into the overall experience that then, brings in more business if people are impressed with their experience here.
Absolutely, and that's one of our key selling points, particularly when you walk out of the convention center. And quite honestly, in other different districts in our community, we do have, whether it's in German Village, whether it's in the core of downtown with what's going on in Gay Street and 3rd Street, we have distinct experiences from a culinary, from a spirits, from a craft brew. We have ale trail, I'm sorry, the coffee trail, made in C-Bus. There's so many things that we're so proud of that when visitors come here, they can't experience that anywhere else. And it's one of our largest selling points that we continue to leverage. They're not going to go to Indianapolis. They're not going to go to Cleveland. They're not going to go to Cincinnati and have the same type of experience. So again, it's very competitive landscape out there, and how we're so proud of our community because it makes our job a lot harder if we're not thinking big, if we're not collaborative in how we continue to be distinct in our community versus others. And that's down the road from public, private, as Guy alluded to. So when people come here, they're like, wow, I can walk out and I'm not going to see 5 chain restaurants. I have unique experiences that they can enjoy.
And Marla, if you'll let me help answer that question too. I think what's happening in the Short North right now is fascinating. And I think that part of what we see in terms of the growth and development in the Short North and the evolution of the Short North is a symptom of the success of Columbus and the fact that we are going to grow by 1 million people by 2050. And I think people tend to lose focus on the fact that there's $500 million worth of private development taking place right now along High Street in the Short North. We're gaining an incredible amount of new space, and we're certainly seeing a difference in business mix coming into some of that new space. But at our core, we're 90% locally owned, Ohio headquartered businesses in the Short North, and we offer incredibly distinct experiences. So I think what this particular planning effort allows for an opportunity for is a little bit of relief of that development pressure, because that's that distinct place where everyone wants to be. We want to be in an urban environment. We're growing population in boomers. We're growing population in millennials. We need additional resources to accommodate that. But allowing an effort like this to help leverage and preserve opportunities in the Short North, I think, is absolutely phenomenal.
And that's one reason why efforts like this are so important, because we are going to grow by 500,000 or 1 million people between now and 2050. And if we keep developing the way we are, we're not all going to fit. And so we've got to increase density. We've got to entice people to come back to the center city. And this is one tremendous way of doing it.
And that's a good point. I mean, it's not just the visitor industry. It ties into the experience of people that live here to business attraction. I know Brian, Experience Columbus has done some campaigns in other cities, kind of selling Columbus as a place that people might want to consider moving to, looking at, so that's all, it's all tied together as part of the same, if people come here to visit and have a good experience, then maybe, down the road, they or somebody they know, family member, ends up coming here and, starting a business or moving here to work for an existing company. That it's all tied together. And Brian, just because I know you're shy about talking about the J.D. Power Award that Columbus got.
Actually, that's what's good.
I believe that's one of the things that we touched on that they encouraged Columbus to continue developing is getting people out to have unique experiences, because that's one thing that drives visitor satisfaction is if they're able to say, wow, I did X and Y, and people that get out and enjoy unique experiences have a better overall impression of a city and are more likely to come back.
Correct, and we did win the J.D. Power Award for best city in the Midwest for a tourist or for a visitor experience, and it's because of all of you. And we can have wonderful facilities, we can have wonderful, culinary and things of that sort, but we have to be very prideful ourselves. We have to be excited about where we live. We have to want to shout from the buildings, glad you're here, you need to come back, you need to move here. And we're seeing more and more of that, and it's contagious. And so we are very excited. We're hoping to extend that designation for another year. But as well, once you become number one, you don't want to be number two. So that's our goal.
And Guy, I know that, beyond just this immediate area, certainly the work CDDC has done on other areas of downtown, the idea is to tie it all together and give people a number of options. I know when, Experience Columbus does tours for prospective groups, they go out to different neighborhoods and, tie it all together and encourage people to see Columbus Commons and the riverfront and all that, too.
Yeah, CDDC has been fortunate and privileged to have the opportunity to lead some large city-changing projects. I'm very proud of the one right behind us here. But we can build a lot of amenities. We're building a lot of neighborhoods, and a lot of that was basically building neighborhoods on empty parking lots. So we assembled a lot of these parking lots. We basically put together public-private partnerships, and we were able to build new neighborhoods like River South. And I think a new neighborhood is going to be coming up around Topiary Park. The Short North is a huge success. But now we need to fill in that gap between the Short North and the Arena District to the west. We've got a lot of great sports, cultural, and entertainment options downtown, but we still need to continue to develop the unused parcels. But one of the things that I wanted to share is we're in that amenity building business, but you need to be able to sell it to the world. If we're going to be able to achieve the objectives that we're looking to achieve, we got to continue to sell. And under Brian's leadership, Experience Columbus does a terrific job of selling our city to the nation. But it's also incumbent upon all of us to be selling our city. We are the best salespeople, if you will, for Columbus. And it's really neat to hear as I'm flying around the nation, when I'm coming home, listening on an airplane and listening to the conversations. Have you heard about Columbus? Is this the first time you've been to Columbus? And folks start talking about all the great things that are happening in our city. I'm not sure that was happening 10 years ago, but it is now, and that's really exciting. So I hope all of you will continue to sell on all that Columbus has to offer, because we have a lot to offer.
Yeah, I think that is starting to change. When I started at the Dispatch 11 years ago and had in my beat, it was considered, oh, by the way, this is kind of a throwaway part of your beat, is you're going to cover the convention business. And I remember saying one day, okay, I'm going to go to the board meeting of Experience Columbus. And my coworkers in the department were like, oh, okay, that sounds boring. And then I came back and I said, oh, they're talking about building a new convention hotel, which is now the Hilton, And it was like, you know what, they've been talking about that for years. There was just such a non-recognition that it was a growing business that was going to take off. And now, we were talking before coming up here that Bill, you said too, so many things that they talked about years ago, finally we're seeing all come together. So I do think that's true, that people now can see it. They're beginning to appreciate that more.
Can I jump in real quick as you talk about the addition of the convention hotel and the Hilton? And I can say that with the development of the Hilton, that took us to a new level. It actually increased our occupancy downtown. It actually increased our average rate downtown, which spreads out to the suburbs. So it really helped us from an overall profile standpoint in the community, and it's allowed us to get some very high-profile groups. And you did see a study over here about additional convention hotel development. You hear a lot about hotel development. Right now, we have an imbalance. We don't have enough convention hotel rooms to really maximize that gem. We're getting ready to open the door on July 1 for the convention center, which will be the 4th largest convention center in our competitive set. And in my opinion, the absolute best convention center from a visitor's standpoint in our competitive set. However, from a convention hotel standpoint, where do you think we rank out of our 11 competitors? 9. How many convention hotels defined by 300 rooms and 20,000 square feet of space do you think our community has? Not just downtown, but our community. Under 5, 4. You have the Hilton, which the Hilton downtown, you have the Renaissance, you have the Hyatt, and you actually have the Crowne Plaza North. So I think that sort of sets an understanding of the need. All the other hotel development's very important, and we're not against hotel development. But that imbalance we have to fix. Having different price points and different experiences are very vital to us being competitive. But if we don't get our convention hotel inventory in line, we're not going to move the needle the way that we can and should as a first-tier destination for conventions and trade shows.
Yeah,
so that's why it's so important when you look at this study and really what you hear from me mainly and others in the community, the importance of that.
That's a really good point. All right, I think it is time that we can get ready to take some audience questions. It's CMC's tradition to take audience questions. Please state your name. The microphone is back there. Ask your question, and we thank you in advance for not making long editorial remarks.
Oh, darn. Carol McGuire, thanks all of you. This is such an exciting revelation today. I had a preview of the slides earlier before I left my office, and it was really exciting to see this new thinking. Great cities have great public art. I would like to know, and I expect others in this room would like to know, what do you have baked into this? What are the provisions that you may have and plans going forward? And I know that Short North has got some of that, but we've got some opportunities here that we could have some stellar public art coming in. And in some ways in the past, we've missed the opportunity to do that. So I'm interested to hear what the thinking may be on that.
I'll take that one if you guys want. Thanks, Carol. I appreciate your question. It's good to see you. So I think the first piece of that is that I am so proud of the work that these folks have done, because they could have just said we need however many more hotel rooms, right? And we'll have the game change for that earned business. But instead, they said we need that, and then how can we make our community better in the process? And part of what NBBJ and others have helped define through this creative exercise is that we have a moment here. We have a major moment here for Columbus to have some key conversations about how we not only improve the experience for visitors, but how we improve the livability of the urban core. And you're absolutely right that, if you look at how Columbus ranks among that peer set, which we do all the time, public art is not something that we have strategically valued the way that other communities have valued. So I think now is Columbus's time, and it is a pleasure to be able to do this work in the Short North and kickstart what will be a huge public process this summer to start having a dialogue about what we value in art, artists, and creative public space. And if we can leverage that moment this summer to further extend into this key planning effort, which will take many years, I think, then we're better off. So it starts with leadership, and keep asking the question and demanding action, Carol.
And if I could jump in, I want to give a big shout out to the Convention Facilities Authority and the Convention Center, because if any of you have been through there lately, tremendous public art. The Hilton, they made sure the parking garages have the public art as well. So they have taken a leadership from that standpoint, and we always talk about distinct advantages. That's something that definitely puts us where a lot of other communities don't, and I think it's a starting point. But yes, we have a tremendous opportunity here as we move forward.
Good afternoon. One of the things that I've read about recently in the Columbus Dispatch was parking issues. And I know this may not be so much germane to Convention and Visitors Bureau, you have attached parking, but we talk about creating other districts and other entertainment areas and walkability. I wondered what the plans were to address those issues. I know it's certainly top of mind for a lot of Short North residents, but I think that's something that was probably needs to be considered, and wondered what your thoughts might be on that.
The P questions, I guess, will go to me. Public art and parking. If we were to truly dive into parking in the Short North, we would be here until next Tuesday. So we'll set that aside for a second and focus on the big thinking. I think, again, having a moment to think strategically about how we can build better amenities, and I love the word that you used before, for the whole community out of an effort like this is phenomenal. Part of it is we as a community need to have the transit conversation. And fostering a better, more connected, walkable urban core, making it easier and more inviting to walk from the Arena District to the Short North to all areas in this community is a big piece of it. The other piece of it is my wink wink to Guy Worley over here, that there could be a strategic moment in the there to think about a parking asset or a parking resource that maybe looks like an underground garage with a park on it, because he does that so well, or some other amenity that truly adds additional value to the Short North, to the downtown core, as we continue to figure out, what smart cities is, what that technological revolution is, and how we do a better job of getting everyone around this community.
Hi, Haley Boning from Story Forge. We have our offices in the Short North, and I'm also a proud resident an owner of a house on Park Street, just a couple blocks north of this exciting stuff we're talking about today. So I'm curious, perhaps a question for Guy. In the proposal and the visioning that you showed us earlier, how did the group look at impacts on the Short North community from a resident standpoint? And was there a significant amount of resident input included in the visioning?
It's a good question. So basically, the boundary was the entrance of Goodale Park. So one of the things that we're really focused on in this study was how could we connect all the success that's occurring in the Short North with the success that is occurring in downtown and east of High Street with the convention facilities, or the convention center, if you will. So this study basically focused on placemaking opportunities west of the convention center all the way to Neal Avenue. So south of 670, north of Nationwide, from 4th Street to Neal Avenue. So that's what we were really focusing on. But whatever we end up with as a plan, it would have to have input from the community. So we're just now starting to have that conversation. Actually, this is the first step. Introducing the plan, the concept, the strategies. And so I'm sure there'll be more of that occurring over time, but this is the first opportunity we've had to present the plan to the community.
Hi, Andy Campbell here. I have a question about the business of the conventions, and I think I can get three of the panelists up there, Brian, Bill, and Betsy. So if we add these extra hotel rooms, can you be specific about the kind of additional convention business that might attract? And I'm really curious of a representation of the value of that of the community, and also what that looks like in the neighborhood when you have one of those come through. So 1, 2, 3.
Okay. So from the convention hotel side of things, it would allow us to book larger groups like the American Society of Association Executives. This is quite honestly, a once in a decade or so opportunity. And we had to get close to 95% of all the hotel rooms downtown to make this work. And I can share with you, being a past hotelier and looking at some hoteliers out there, they're not going to be giving up all of their hotel rooms for groups from here on out. However, the groups that come in, such as the American Medical Association, American Bar Association, you know, there's a lot of different high profile and what we would call high yield groups that would raise the economic impact quite a bit, that we would be more competitive with. And these are the type of groups that the Indianapolises are getting, the Nashvilles are getting, and it has a very broad impact on the community. I can sort of zero it down to just the bed tax impact. If you were comparing us to Nashville, if we were able to get the same type of bed tax that Nashville has compared to what we do now, it'd be another $45 million that could go into our community. And obviously the bed tax is utilized for the sales and marketing of the community. It's utilized for the Convention Facilities Authority. It's utilized for Human Services. It's utilized for GCAC. It's utilized for the Housing Trust. So those are some great segments of our community that would benefit from, again, additional resources.
Brian, that's not because they have a higher tax, that's just the sheer dollars.
No, it's the sheer dollars. Yeah, I mean, the type of average rate that they're getting.
Right.
And you have to understand sort of the market forces that impact has on our small business community. I mean, I think what's incredible to look at is if you look at the amount of businesses that were on High Street in the Short North in 2000, we had about 150. There were over 350 businesses along High Street in the Short North today. And I think what's particularly exciting about that is that guy over there who's standing next to you, is not only are you seeing small businesses, you know, take a chance and take a risk and feel emboldened to do that because they have a convention business that can give them a cushion to do that, but then they expand. And you've got businesses like Steve Weaver with the Candle Lab who are growing locations, who are growing new segments of their business actually to foster and serve the convention tourism business, or business owners like Bethia with Columbus Food Adventures, who now has Columbus City Adventures. So there's an amazing generator effect that does take place with all of this tourism activity beyond just, you know, the opportunistic nature of foot traffic and bed tax impacts. It actually builds businesses.
And as we bring these millions of people into the community, they've earned their money somewhere else and they're spending it here. That creates jobs here, both in the businesses in the Short North and the suppliers of those businesses and the suppliers to the households who work in all of those businesses. So all of this has a really, really nice multiplier effect, and it generates tax in our community that we who live here do not have to pay because we get other nice people to pay it for us. Wonderful.
All right, Betsy really teed me up there. So I am Steve Weaver with the Candle Lab. So we already have this is a sales question for both Betsy and Brian. We already have a store in the heart of the Short North, and now we're opening up a second location in October in the heart of the district that you're talking about today. I'm curious from a positioning standpoint if this is going to be branded and talked about as a unique, I know you said it wasn't a district, but a unique area that is, it's not quite the Arena District, it's not quite the Short North. Is this its own branding entity as the density builds, or is this something that is just is such a connection point to downtown Arena District and Short North that it's not gonna, that's not the way the conversation's gonna go?
Go ahead.
We haven't talked about this answer, actually. So I'll give my
Ladies first.
ladies
Go ahead.
first. Thank you. I think that's for the community to decide. I think that's for the community to decide. And I think what's exciting about this, 50,000-foot view is we understand the dynamics of land use. We understand the dynamics of what we need to connect two really distinct places. And we need the community to help figure out how we do that in a way that is authentic and fosters the benefit of all of us. So I don't think unequivocally that we need a district called the Convention District. I do think equivocally that we need a great place that fosters the success of two already thriving areas of our city. And whether that has a whole place branding, place marketing effort attached to it, or whether that is a complementary moment of amenities, of added square footage, of relief, of whatever you want to think of it as, I think that's what's key to focus on. But none of that should be decided by a panel. None of that should be decided by a committee or in a quiet room. It should be a community effort.
Very good answer.
Thank you, Brian.
But I would say the big thing like this, while we're up here today, is to spur the conversation. None of us want to wake up and say, oh, that's being built over there, that's being developed. The more thoughtful conversations that can be had, the better off our community will be. And as Guy will share with you, our community has a history of that. So it's just a matter of creating those conversations. And as I said before, if it happens organically and very authentically, we're better off.
Thank you. Eric Brown, and I was very pleased to hear the question about the impact on the residential parts of our community. And the response, Guy, was a good one because we do need to have those conversations. And, not just in a group like this, but with residents of Italian Village and Victorian Village and others. My question is about the impact on the local businesses, the small independent businesses. My perception, and this is subjective, I don't have the data that Betsy has, is that a lot of galleries, a lot of artists have been pushed out of the Short North to areas that are less expensive, that they've been priced out in many ways. And I think we have fewer galleries and artists than we have in the past. And what's come is restaurants, bars, and hotels. Plus we've had, and I don't want to have a discussion about the specifics, but changes like Bollinger Tower with its residents being replaced by an upscale hotel. So my question is, what is this plan and what are you doing to help support the kinds of businesses I'm talking about, the smaller, independently owned, non-chain businesses that really provide the kind of character to the neighborhood that some of the national chains just don't provide?
Look at these three just stare at me. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Eric. You know, this is an overwhelming amount of change that we have in Columbus right now. It really is. And I think a lot of the passion in the community comes from the fact that it is literally an overwhelming amount of change. You know, if you think about the dynamics of the Short North over the last 30 plus years of its revitalization, it's constantly been a community in change. And, you know, to speak to the gallery piece in particular, you know, I think that there's been a good sustainability of galleries over the life of the district. It's just there's so much more going on now, and there's so much infill. As to how that occurs in the future, I think that's an important issue to continue to raise. And I think certainly our community is concerned and cares an awful lot about having art commerce continue to take place in a vibrant way along High Street, which is what that gallery business is. But I think through public art initiatives and other efforts, we as a community need to come together and make that voice louder so that we can come up with tools and strategies that help preserve that as development occurs.
Yeah, and to add to that, you have to remember this is a land use plan. And I think what is going to occur is we shared with you today several of the placemaking strategies that we had. And why would we focus on that? Because they're catalyst for more development. Catalyst similar to what the green space is at Columbus Commons. We started with the green space and we built a mixed-use development around it. Look at the riverfront. Look at all of the new development that's occurring around that green space and that placemaking, if you will. There's a lot of empty parking lots between the convention center all the way to Neal Avenue. There's an opportunity to build on the mixed use that's occurring in the Short North and in the Arena District. I foresee there'll be lots of new residential, lots of new office, lots of new retail opportunities, and hopefully more convention hotel space there as well. So this is just the start of that conversation. It's a plan, it's a big vision, but you have to start with a big vision. And I believe the development will, at some point over the next 10 years, that empty space will be built out. And it may be difficult to tell that you've come from downtown to the Arena District to the space in between the Arena District and the Short North. It should look pretty seamless, north and south of the convention center.
Well, on that note, I hope you all enjoyed today's forums. Your next opportunity to continue this conversation is in the back of the room with coffee and cookies. You can view and share today's forum and all of our forums on CTV Columbus Television, on WOSU and PBS affiliates statewide through the Ohio channel, and anytime on CMC's website via YouTube. So help me thank our sponsors, Mills James, Schooley Caldwell, and Dispatch Media Group. And our speakers, Guy Worley, Brian Ross, Bill Lafayette, Betsy Pandora, and Marla Rose. And thanks to all of you for being here today. We look forward to seeing you next week, I guess 2 weeks.